Hi, I'm Mike and I'm here with my 2021 Norco Torrent S1, and I'm going to go through how to set up a bike, whether that be brand new like mine or just new to you, so a second-hand bike. If you've picked up a second-hand bike, there's a few extra steps to go through just to make sure it's running alright before you start. The first thing to do is just a general bolt check, just to make sure that everything's nice and tight. So in particular, check your axles and your cockpit around your handlebars or your brakes and everything, and check your suspension linkages if you've got a full suspension bike. And while you're checking those linkages, if there's any excess movement, that might be a sign of wear and you might need to replace your bearings. Next, you want to wash your bike and degrease your drivetrain, get it nice and clean, and then relube it, and that'll get you ready for the next step. Last thing to do is just check your tyres for wear and make sure that your dropper post is operating smoothly if you have one. Once you've done these steps, you should be ready to set your bike up for your preference. The first thing you want to do on both bikes would be to flip it over and check your bottom bracket, and there'll be a code down there. If your bike's brand new, you'll be able to register this code with your manufacturer, and that'll help you with warranty claims. And if it's a second-hand bike, it's just good to have a record of that code if your bike's ever stolen. Next thing you want to do is get some pedals. If you're coming from an existing bike, you may want to use the pedals you already have. If it's your first time on a bike, probably best thing to start with flat pedals. Putting on your pedals, you'll either need a pedal spanner or a Allen key. And the thing to remember is one of them has a reverse thread. So the rule to remember is you want to twist towards the front of the bike. If your wrench is at the top of the thread, you want to twist forwards. So on the right side of your bike, that would be clockwise, and on the left side of your bike, that would be anti-clockwise. Next thing, on my new bike, I had reflectors that came with the bike as part of the Australian regulations for importing bikes. Since I'm not going to be riding my bike on the road, I'm going to take those reflectors off. If you do plan on riding your bike on the road, it's a good idea to keep them on unless you're going to replace them with lights. The next thing to do is remove any stickers. My bikes come with some stickers from the factory, and if you're buying a second-hand bike, it may come with stickers that the other owner has put on. The best thing to do is to remove it with a hairdryer or a heat gun, and then use some kind of oil or Goo Gone to get rid of the residue. Now you've taken those stickers off, the next thing you want to do is put some frame protection on. Go around the bike and see if there's anywhere which may get worn from cables or from the chain, and just put some frame protection on. Now we're going to get into adjusting your bike for you. The first thing to do is to sit on your bike and to get the handlebars at a comfortable height. This may include taking some spaces out from underneath your stem or putting some spaces back underneath. Next, check the roll of the handlebars. You may have to roll them forwards or back depending on how much back sweep your bars have. Next thing you may want to do is to cut your handlebars down. If you're reaching too wide, you may find it uncomfortable, or if you're riding through some really tight technical terrain. Next is adjusting your brake lever position and also tidying up the cables at the front of the bike. You may want to take your brake levers off to be able to reroute them to be a bit more smooth, like I am here. One thing you want to note with your brake levers and shifters is to both go in a seated position and your pedaling position and just see what feels comfortable. A good rule of thumb is you want to keep your wrist relatively straight, all the way from your elbow all the way down to your hands when you've got your hands on the brake lever. Now you've got your cockpit set up, adjust your seat post so that your knee is slightly bent when your leg is fully extended. And you can also adjust your seat forwards and backwards and tilt it so that it's comfortable for your sit bones. This is something that you'll probably have to experiment with on your first few rides. The next thing to do is to add any integrated tools or storage onto your bike that you may have purchased. The next thing you want to do is pump up your tyres to your preferred pressure. If you don't know what pressure to run, have a look around on the internet and see what other people are running for the same size tyre and possibly the same type of bike that you have. Next thing we're going to do is set up suspension. The Norco Torrent here is a hardtail, so I only have to set up front suspension, but it's the same process front and back if you do have a dual suspension bike. Take a look at your suspension and you'll see recommended settings on there. You can also go to the website and they'll have recommended settings. That's a good starting point, and from there you can fine tune for your preference. Next, you'll want to bed in your brand new brake pads. Next, what you want to do is bed your brakes if you've got brand new brake pads, and if you've got a second-hand bike, take a look at the wear on those brake pads because you may need to replace them. Next, you'll want to run through your drivetrain and make sure it's running smoothly, and And before you do that, put a little bit of chain lube onto your chain. Note you'll need to use the correct kind of lube for your weather conditions, so dry lube for dry conditions, wet lube for wet conditions. Finally, just go around and clean up the bike, remove any excess grease. I noticed that my bike came with a bit of grease here and there from the factory, so I just cleaned it up, because otherwise that's just going to collect dust. Congratulations, you're all done with your setup. It's time to take it for a test ride. Preferably go for a ride on a trail that's close to home and you're familiar with, and make sure you take some tools, in particular a shock pump and a multi-tool to make any adjustments you need on site. Note, there's probably going to be some adjustments you need to make on your first few rides before you really dial in your setup. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoy your new bike. Like and subscribe for more content and comment below what you thought of the video. See you in the next one.